358 that the Board of Adjustments and Appeals will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, May 26, 2021, 1:30 p.m. Orlando City Hall, Council Chambers. 710 West Avenue A, Port Aransas, Dutchess County, Texas, to consider the following. We're going to consider and take appropriate action on the following variance applications. Variance request 21-0807, northwest 50 by 130 foot of Mustang Island, Lot 10, Block 33. Applicant is requesting to reduce the required rear setback and side setback requested by Robert and Donna Carbo. Property location is 603 East Avenue C. Is there anybody here to speak on this item? Yes, sir. Step to the mic and identify yourself.
So
Just remind the difference between citizens' comments and the agenda item, whereas you can't have the discussion back and forth during the.
Okay, you understand we can't discuss with you at this point.
it might be better if we wait until you.
You can present your case, and when we come up, then we can debate. But for clarity, we can only ask you clarification of facts. You can go ahead and present your case. And then
Maybe
present
more
it.
opportune for you when the item comes up specifically.
So wait,
It's a, well,
Yeah, wait,
y'all tell me.
Wait.
Have a
it's better
hearing
wait.
listed on here.
yeah,
This is.
Yeah, it's just public.
We don't have any public hearings. I
Yeah.
apologize. No, state, you're correct. We don't have any public hearing notices in this case or any public comments. So we just don't have that. So we're
so it's
going right into
right to the item.
we're going right to the item. So I apologize.
So stay here.
Yes,
Stay here.
sorry.
Right to the item?
Yeah, no citizens.
Right, so
yeah,
we're
we-
following the agenda
Okay,
here.
Right, so yeah, there is no public comments or public hearings or citizens' comments, so we're going right to the meat of the matter.
okay, this is the item. More than welcome to speak. We can discuss.
Okay, well, thank you all for the gathering today. I'll be brief. Bob Carbo, Donna Carbo. Back in the fall, we acquired this property on Avenue C. We're longtime Port A visitor, previous property owner. What we're doing as far as the application goes, turning a building that goes back to the 1930s from a duplex into a single-family dwelling on a non-conforming lot. The original pre-Harvey structure had in this quadrant here a deck, the building set on the ground. At that time, when it was built, I guess originally it was built before setbacks or whatever, but the back 5 feet of the building set within the 10-foot setback by 5 feet. So what we are proposing and would like to do is build a deck. On top of that deck, build a second floor, if you will, of living space, and then build stairs to access the deck. The elevation. This gives you a picture of the elevation. Viewing it, this would be from the neighbor on the deck side. This would be viewing it from Avenue C. So you can see this deck is what we'd like to build, and then floor on top, and then a roof line that kind of cantilevers in. So all this has been engineered and designed by state certified engineers. Windstorms, structure has all been engineered and approved by engineer. So that's what we're putting forth, and happy to answer any questions or never been to one of these. So
There was a deck originally,
there,
that was just a porch kind of thing,
so pre-Harvey,
right?
this building set on the ground.
guys, behind you is kind of a
Post Harvey.
post Harvey, but pre-elevation. And in a minute, I'll give you kind of a little bit of a background story.
Yeah. So can I point and give
Sure,
you all some
sure, absolutely.
reference if you don't mind?
And switch back to the aerial real quick. Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So this corner is
Is right here.
right there. There you go. So in that corner, there was a deck. In fact, I have
I can try to see if we can see that.
this thing that shows it. But that's that right corner. And that was an original deck that was on this single story property. Off of that deck were some stairs that came this way.
You can.
Well, this is in our packet, this drawing is.
Correct. So,
It shows stairs. on the
This
side.
is actually, if I could approach y'all, I can hand around. This is actually a survey from when the house was still on the ground after Harvey, but it's the actual survey that shows the deck and shows the stairs coming out into the setback that I mentioned.
it's this portion right here.
What happened to the porch?
I'm assuming either Harvey knocked it out or they knocked it out when they decided to raise the building.
Right. So again, just a brief background. Prior to Mr. Carbo purchasing the property, the owner had attempted renovation and had elevated it. Again, it was substantially damaged. So with the substantial damage came the requirement that the whole property now be brought back up to code, with the exception of the legal nonconformities, which was, Mr. Carbo described some encroachments into the setbacks that predated our ordinance. It's an older structure. So he began the elevation and then ran into some and came to us with permission, which we've done on a few occasions by requiring them to elevate. It obviously presented a problem for them to access the property now from the original entry. So we did have the latitude to administratively allow them to build steps, even if those encroached into the front setback a little bit, to access the house, as long as it wasn't a whole deck so we gave them access because we made them elevate. But the property stalled once the concrete piers were there, and there became some engineering questions that our previous building official that Don since inherited, questions about engineers' comments about the viability of that new elevated foundation. There were still some issues that were in question, and we'll touch on that in a minute. So that's where I think the property went on the market, and I believe Mr. Carbo bought it from that owner. And again, they're here because it's a small lot, legal non-conforming, and really we're having the discussion because the way the ordinance reads will allow that legal nonconformity to continue. You just can't expand that nonconforming. You guys have heard this before, I think all of you, horizontally or vertically. So that's the restriction that he's got. You can expand and enlarge and remodel outside of those encroaching areas, but the nature of the lot just makes it difficult to do any kind of expansion with what they've got. So that's kind of, just jumped ahead to the background there. Yeah, there lies.
If I could ask clarifying, is kind of a clarifying question, I guess. The lot size is, I believe, in just around or just over 5,000 square feet, which for a single family home would make it a conforming lot.
Oh,
It's non-conforming because today it's a duplex. And what I'm proposing is to bring everything up to code, leverage the engineering and the investments I've made to get engineering done, not only to address, the plans we have, but also the foundation, also the blocking, also, the joists and the subframe, if you will. So, the proposed piece that sits within the setback is stairs, which this will be a little bit different because it'll be second floor stairs, but you know, there were stairs there since the thirties, we think maybe. And then B, a deck that would now have a second floor and only 5 feet of that, of which the whole 5 feet across the back of the property sits in that setback today anyway. So that's just to clarify,
And you're taking it from a duplex back to a single family.
single family, that's right.
How does that change things?
So right now it's legal non-conforming as a duplex.
Yeah,
So
so
he's going back.
that
to-
use would be allowed to continue.
Would it be illegal non-conforming as a single-family residence?
No, it's legal. I mean, it's legal.
Yeah, that is the current,
Oh, 5 feet on the side, okay.
that is the current use, so.
I got it.
He's going back to single family and he's conforming to single family code, right?
With everything except the setbacks.
5 feet.
Well, what about the stairs coming
Well,
out the front?
the setback, and then we just want to make sure that we're all on the same page as far as any expansion. If there's any expansion being proposed, this is always a difficult one to articulate and probably best graphically done, but just so that you're aware, if there's any request, Mr. Carbo, of the expansion being in those areas that currently are part of the legal nonconformity, if that makes sense.
Right. So, again, highlighted here in green is existing building that sits, that's kind of, if you look at that picture,
Go back to
it's
the
the
area.
far right side towards the
Right back
dunes
there.
there.
Let's look at
okay?
the aerial so that we're consistent with what you're looking at.
Yeah,
So that's this portion back here.
that's right. So that whole section is what I've got highlighted in green, right? And 5 feet of that is today within the setback. And what I'm adding in yellow is in that little notched out area where the original deck was, I'll build a deck and then on top of that, another story. And of that, 5 feet will be in that, just this 5 feet would be within that
But as a
setback.
single-family residence, that's okay, is that correct, Rick?
Except for the stairs.
It's a
Well,
10
is there-
10-foot setback. So there, his front is actually off of 11th Street.
Oh, okay, all
There's
right,
a
so
front.
that's a back, that, is
So
that
it's a
back? or
back.
is- Okay, that's 10
It should
feet.
be 10.
Okay, okay, see, I'm looking at it from a different angle.
Yeah.
Do you own that vacant lot, for better word?
It's not,
Their
it's
other
just,
property,
This piece is part of my, is one lot.
all one?
Yeah, it's all one lot.
So it does connect all the way to 11th Street.
Yes, sir.
I get
It's a corner.
Mhm.
Which is where the 10 feet comes from, right? Because it's a corner.
correct. No, sir.
That would be the rear.
Yeah, what I see as
So-
the side is the rear.
This-
Yeah, so legal conforming today would be a 20-foot front and a 15 side because he's on a corner.
Graphics, and I make it a little bit easier. So this is his whole lot. This is 11th Street where it actually fronts. So this is his 20-foot front setback here. Off of this side, he needs 5 foot. Off of this side, he needs 10 foot. And off of this side, because it's a street frontage, he needs 15 foot.
By today's standards.
Right now, he's
Right, but it's
legal
grandfathered in
non-conforming
where it is, right?
because he's encroaching on all 3 of these setbacks. He's requesting to build on top of this, on top of the structure that's already there, so it's going to still be expanding to legal non-conforming in this area, but not over here.
Correct, yeah. So the roof ties into there and nothing happens here.
Do we know the distance right from here?
That's
to
5
here?
feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And none of this portion here is being expanded?
Nothing's touched, no, interior only. Yeah.
And then the only portion that's gonna be closer than 15 foot is,
Those stairs,
okay, so
those
it's 15
stairs.
foot from here to the corner of
To
the
the-
new addition.
that's right, yeah. And the only reason we're coming out this way with the stairs is because, again, because of this lot size, I want to make sure a double driveway goes here. It goes all the way under the property so that, because, I mean, this is kind of a tricky corner and I don't want cars, you know, out here on the street parking. So I wanted to park here and that's why I had to come out
That
this
is
way.
my question, I'm gonna wonder why you didn't understand.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, okay.
The gentleman I bought it from, that's what he was gonna do.
Okay.
And I'm like, man, you gotta get cars out of here.
Yeah.
So,
Did, you bought it after it was?
after it was raised, yes, sir.
What's that look like?
The pilings, it's all been
There's comments
certified by
about colors
engineers.
in here. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
just curious.
probably brand new concrete.
Yeah.
Or-
How big are they?
They're not solid
Pretty-
concrete. though.
Pretty small, actually.
There's 35, I think, today, so it's a certified engineered foundation.
So,
And-
Yeah, Carla, you
Pilings.
want to talk about the engineering aspect of it?
Yeah, I'd like to hear
Yeah.
about that.
So there's an engineer's report, and he says the installed new reinforced concrete piers and associated subgrade footings are found to have been correctly installed per engineer design. The raised foundation design properly supports the house. However, the existing wood beams and joists do not apply or comply with current load tables.
Right.
The engineer recommends reinforcement of the floor support to be in accordance with the locally adopted version of the International Residential Code or its equivalent. And then he says that he recommends cross bracing to resist wind and storm surge loading as well.
Well, basically what he's saying is the piers are good. It's the frame under the house that needs to be reinforced, that it's sitting on the piers on.
And that would be part of a building permit?
That would be a building permit, and it would be part of the engineers and all that stuff. It would fall under the engineer's purveyance to make sure it's properly installed. And I'll be looking at it too.
And if I can offer, I've already hired another engineer to look at that and look at these pilings and piers. That's the design. I can give it to you. And we've gone over and above. I mean, we're gonna meet code and then some on underneath that house. So I'm not gonna do it otherwise.
Huh?
What kind of bracing does it have to be cross braced or something?
It's what it's doing is it's trying to keep.
They call it
Frame.
blocking as
They call
well.
it
So there'll be blocking underneath, new joists throughout. We're ripping all those joists out of there. I mean, the plans that we
Basically,
submitted
you're looking at a
previously
house.
to the city
So basically, you're saying there's a house frame there, but you're gonna redo all of that house
underneath.
frame underneath.
Yeah,
So basically, he's just redoing the foundation on it.
yeah,
You're okay with it?
I'm okay with it, an engineer signs off on it, and he's got plans.
There you
yeah.
So is it part where the piling's approved? or-
Yeah,
go. Yeah.
by the first engineer said the pilings were good. All he's saying is that the floor under the house is not sufficient enough to support the structure and to keep it on the pilings.
And he recommended the cross bracing.
And I don't want to gum this up because this is not part of this. This is part of our building permit application, which we already submitted and the team here reviewed. But we're actually going to replace, I think, 3 of those pilings in our plan and add pilings for this deck. So all of that's, I had basically what that report said, re-engineered, re-evaluated, and then we're going to add to it.
Above and beyond.
Yeah,
It's
if you'd like, this is the foundation and how the footing was designed and the beam and
Does that have elevations on it?
It doesn't. Who's the engineer?
I think this is the original one, done July 2018. And it's got the stamp of the state of Texas, Jose Romaquea. He was the engineer that reported on that, designed this, and that report says they did what he designed.
But I think somebody mentioned, I think we're getting a little bit more into the permitting
Right.
section, which
Yeah,
really, we've got to get across your charge first to decide, like I said,
I have a question. I have a question.
Yeah.
Is the only thing that's outside the original footprint, those stairs that go upstairs?
the stairs and because of today's width standards for a staircase being is it 48 inches?
36.
36.
Uh-huh.
You got about maybe 2 foot this way that's a little bigger than the footprint, but it's still going this way within the setback.
Right.
Does that make sense? So
Basically,
this was within the original footprint and was always overlapping. A little bit of this was, but it was here. And this stuff in yellow. So there's those stairs, there's that deck, and there's that floor I want to add.
Don't they get so many inches free in a certain height into a setback?
30 inches. but-
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
30 inches is 30 inches.
yeah, we've typically given them setback variances for staircases after we make them elevated.
Okay.
Okay. Any other question?
I've got a comment to make, not exactly a question. I'm glad to hear that you've got more engineering in it because I live close by there and I saw how they built those piers. And those piers are scary
Okay.
because they're not solid concrete, they're concrete blocks.
Blocks with poured
Steel,
concrete.
and then they put concrete on the exterior of it. And so, were you around during Harvey?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then all right, I just
Yep.
want you to be aware. Are y'all planning to put any more fill underneath?
Yes,
that
ma'am.
house? Because it's a mosquito.
We're planning
patch.
to do fill dirt and grade work and a retaining wall on the upside of that and divert water like it should be diverted.
And before you start, do you think you're gonna remove the stove that's under the house and the chair and the debris? Because really the neighbors in that, I mean, I've gotten comments from the neighbors.
I know, that's why I want to get it done and get
You
going.
know, they like.
I'm
see
trying to
it
rescue
done.
this thing, get it done.
Okay, thanks.
I have a question about the pilings. Are there 0 cross prices on the pilings?
There are cross bracing today that was done per the follow-up of that prior engineer report. There will be more. Yeah.
Okay, between the pilings
Yeah,
and.
yes.
And before we allow them to proceed from the building side and the permitting side, all of those things will have to be addressed to be structurally and engineering sound. So like I said, that will all be handled depending on how you guys proceed. Well, regardless how, any construction will proceed with that, and Don will make sure that foundation is engineered. We've got a stamped set of plans approving it in its final form. Regardless of variances, anything that happens to that house, we'll do that.
Well, on the variant side, what's the city staff to say?
Well, again, our standard answer is typically, holding it up against an I want rather than I need. It's an unusual lot, no doubt, probably one of the more unusual ones we've seen, but it is of size that you could do something with the house. The intriguing part is that they're very limited in parking, but the parking's grandfathered as well. And it is a duplex. By removing the second dwelling unit, which he could have, we also reduce part of a parking problem, or potential parking issue. I can't weigh I'm just throwing that out there. So this isn't one that I think, Carla, you jump in. You guys have spent most of the time, and Don as well. I don't think it's a ask that we're as vehemently opposed to, because there is some public benefit that we see in an area of the city that we're having a significant problem with, which is parking. So I don't have a direct answer. That's a very, not intended to be political, but a very way to skirt a direct answer. But we don't strongly oppose it for that reason, because it's a little bit different than a lot of the ones we see. Our normal answer is it's an I want rather than I need. He could have a very functional house, not exactly what he wants, with that size lot, and leave it as a duplex. So
Well,
again,
let
that's
me-
why you guys get paid the big bucks to sit there and make the final decision.
Is this
Yeah.
a primary residence?
It will be
Will be your primary residence.
my primary residence, yeah.
And it would be zoned currently for a short-term rental.
Would be the new motion person.
It is R2.
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
R2,
okay, yeah.
Would be the new motion person.
So my situation is this, we've spent, I don't want to make my money part of it, but I'm just telling you, I'm ready to go. I've got the engineering work's all been done. The plans have all been done, the architecture. I've been to permits for once, and our fine city pointed out I need to get this variance process done, and that's fine. And I'm ready to go with this plan. Any other plan, and I'm starting from ground zero, and I'm not so sure that I'm gonna do anything else with this property, because my desire is to make it permanent residence for me and my family. And you saw those folks, they won't fit in that little house. So anyway, just so you know, my plan is I'm going this direction. Any other direction, I'd have to start completely over with engineering and architect and design, and then permits as it is now. We've already been to permitting once. I'm not saying it wasn't permitted permitted, but we got a pretty good line of sight of turning some shovels and swinging some hammers pretty quick if we got this variance. If we didn't, all bets are off. I probably, would consider going back on the market with it. You go back through this whole process. So,
Well, money can't be a part of the argument.
no, it's not. I'm just,
Here's what could be a rental from the rental market and makes it into a primary residence.
What theoretically could be two rentals.
Too short.
Right, two rentals. So there is potentially an improvement to the neighborhood. Am I saying that correctly?
I would view that as a public benefit, given the current state of affairs. But that's just staff
it's
opinion.
got to be the last Harvey decrepit thing in the middle of a nice neighborhood anywhere on the island, I would think, but.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that the gentleman is kind of stuck with the house the way it came, okay? All he's asking to do is put what was there back, only elevated. And all we need to do is give him the 5 foot to do that with. So he's got the plans, he's got a bad lot, the way it's designed. I don't have a problem with it as the building official of giving him the 5 feet to play
Well,
with.
thank you.
Give it to him.
All right.
That's a good direct statement right there. That's
Thank
what
you.
I'm looking for.
There you go.
Then I'll make a motion to grant the variance for
603.
603 East Avenue C.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Uh,
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, fine folks.
Got 2 weeks to get it finished.
There you go.
And let's get on it now.
Yeah, thank you.
Everybody's ready to work. Okay, next item, consider and take appropriate action on the following unsafe substandard structure at 416 West Avenue C. Randall Holding Company C, Block 19, Lot 8 through 10. Is anybody here to speak on that item?
Yeah.
I'm James Ferris, owner of 416 West Avenue C structure. Obviously, as you know from Harvey, we've all had our troubles securing funds and making progress. I have finally secured funds to move forward with the process of making my structure safe and livable. As it sits now, I am homesteaded on that property, and I would like to continue to have that as my homestead and continue to live there. I have secured funds. I have a letter here from my architect, which I believe is the final process in applying for a permit to start work on the property, make it structurally safe and livable.
Where did you get your, is your funding coming from insurance? or
Personal.
Personal.
At this point. Obviously, after Harvey, we've had a lot of issues with, I guess, bogus contractors, and I was one of the victims of that.
If I may speak on his behalf just momentarily too.
We step
You
forward.
are?
My name's E. Glossing. I'm an attorney and I represent James in the past. His contractor actually absconded with some significant insurance proceeds from his settlement on the insurance. And so he has been scrambling to replenish that money. And I think he's achieved that at this point. And so I would ask on his behalf as well that he be given the opportunity to move forward with the reconstruction of that property. Thank you.
Any more questions?
So you've got your architectural plans together.
Most of them, sir. I have basic drawing right here.
Okay.
If I could pass that to you.
Well, that's fine. I'll see that in the permitting. Here's what I don't want to get into. Because we've got a couple like this now. I don't want them or us to give you the time to do it, to get all this stuff started.
Mhm.
Okay? And then sit on it and don't carry forward.
Oh, no, sir. I plan on living in this structure full time, and I am very eager to get back into my
Well, very
house
good
after
then.
this almost 4 years worth of.
And that's what my
living there.
My concern is that 3 months from now, we come back and go, why haven't you started anything?
Oh, no, there is absolutely no way.
That's-
I mean, even right now, as of today, other than the rain, I haven't been able to mow the grass, but I have been upkeeping the property and taking care
That
of it.
was just my concern, right?
Yes, sir.
And so I don't think I heard it specifically. So what is the timeline? I mean, kind of give us obviously you've started some steps.
Yes, sir.
Would you expect to come in with rest of the documents for the permit? I guess is a good.
As soon as the architect is finished, again, I can pass this out to show you.
No,
where
I think
they're
they
at.
just want an idea as to what the
Um,
timeline is.
I would say maybe 2-3 weeks for the architect. This new architect that I found, Baron Designs, obviously everybody's pretty familiar with them, is being very helpful and putting mine as a priority because of this situation. And as soon as the architectural plans are done and we can file for a permit, respectfully getting the permit, I would like to start immediately.
What about engineering?
So simultaneous,
I have
simultaneously.
engineering plans and they have been submitted. My next step was the architectural
Okay,
plans.
so windstorm stuff submitted. I mean, I
Yes,
just, again, because one of the things they're going to ask is that, what's going to be your timeline to get started and what do you need for completion? Because I suspect their motion will reflect giving you, giving you
Of
time.
course, I would expect to get started again, as soon as I get a permit pulled, hopefully, within the next month or two, we can get the permit pulled if not sooner. And that way I can get started as quickly as possible and have it done between maybe 6 or 8 months. I'm very eager to get back into the house, and now that I have the funds secured, I'd really like to proceed.
No, we don't like to see houses that have to get torn down.
Of course.
So you've submitted the engineering to the city, or is
No.
the engineers drawing it up?
They're drawing it up.
Okay.
In other words, he's still in the pre-permit stage, but it shouldn't be more than about 2 or 3 weeks before he's ready to submit it to the city.
Okay,
And then he'll start working on the house as soon as we get it approved.
And I do have the engineered drawings in my little packet as well.
Okay.
I just.
I'm
just
okay
trying
with
to
it
go
as
through
long
the
as
final
we don't
process.
come back here 3 months later because nothing's been happening.
right,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
Permit's good for 6 months, okay, if they issue. But that's only if they don't do anything in 6 months, the permit expires. I'm figuring within 2 months to 3 months, I better at least see some work starting on the house.
Absolutely.
So that's where I'm at with them. Because I've got a house right now that's been sitting there for a year and hasn't had a dang thing done to it. Okay. So that's where I'm at.
So what you
And
said,
and again, that is not my intention.
Oh, I understand.
As soon as I have a permit filed and approved, I would like to get started immediately.
cool. Because we don't want to turn it down, but we will.
Yeah.
That's true.
Give them a vote.
So should we give 60 days, 90 days? I mean,
I would go with 90 to make sure we get all our permits and stuff. And just my opinion. Y'all do what you want to.
Okay, like, that's good.
so what we'd have to do is actually say that it's unsafe and substandard, but that, what's the languaging we're gonna,
So
You'll just order it repaired
repaired,
or removed and give them 90 days and then
yeah, give
usually
you
there's,
90 days and he can come back before us with his progress.
Right.
So that would leave me 90 days to pull a permit or 90 days after permit to start,
That would be
Well,
90
then-
days
to pull a permit and
to
start.
pull the permit and start.
Yeah, and have some forward movement when you come back in front of us.
Okay, absolutely.
Come back to
Yeah, and that gives you 90 days and if there's no progress made, then within the first meeting after that 90 days, we just have to come back and say, this is when you gave them, anyway. Well, that's not gonna happen. I'm confident of that. So,
Okay, thank you.
Can you get us a motion out of that?
Okay. You may have to help me with this. Nicole. So I make a motion to declare the structure at,
416 West Avenue C.
thank you, 416 West Avenue C to be unsafe and substandard and order them repaired or removed within 90 days.
Okay,
Second. I was looking at her, I'm sorry.
we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
so just stay in close touch. We'll sounds like we'll see you pretty soon, and
Absolutely.
let us know if anything else comes up in the meantime.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry that happened to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate to see it.
I just like to get a list of every one of them contractors that did that, so if we ever get another hurricane, we can keep them out again.
Yeah.
I'd love it.
Names will change
Oh, I understand, but the
Faces.
faces do remain the same.
Sunshine revival.
from the beginning of disaster history. It's been
I know,
a plague that nobody's gotten a great grip on.
I understand.
All right, next item, consider and take appropriate action on following unsafe substandard structure, 200 East Cotter Avenue. Cotter Survey number 4, block 3, lot 9. Anybody to speak on that?
I'm Heath Lawson. I'm here on behalf of Leroy Hoskins. Quite frankly, I don't know why we're here. I think that Leroy wants to demolish the property. You guys want the property demolished. He's applied for a permit for demolition. Has been denied that based on an engineering. They've requested an engineering report. It's an independent building. It's kind of an absurdity. He's had engineers out and said, well, there's no reason to engineer this because this is an independent building for the demolition. They should issue your demolition permit. And they have denied the demolition permit at the city requesting an engineering report. So we have an engineer here who has brought a letter that says no engineering is necessary for this property. And I'd ask Engineer Diggins to come up and present that to the council.
So this is a partial demolition of one building that shares a common wall. The common wall has independent framing in each of the two structures. The gables carry through to the roof line for the two independents. I think I brought 3 copies of the letter. I was approached to ensure that the demolition of approximately, and maybe this will help too. There's 1,200 square feet of a building that was constructed circa 1930. It shares a common wall with another building constructed circa 1862. The 1862 building has been undergoing substantial renovation. And at this point is, I would say, probably well into the 80 to 95% completion. They want to remove the adjacent building. I inspected it. I found no issues of asbestos. I do not believe that with proper shoring of the 1862 building, there's any potential damage to the 1862 building, the demolition of the 1930 building.
You said there is or there is?
There is not.
They're separate enough you can get it off of there without tearing up the other.
Flip, which is a good segue, which is all we've asked for. And I don't know if it's been a miscommunication, but while we're all here to make it very clear, all we need is that engineer to give us that letter saying that the part that's clearly in need of demolition can be demoed without impacting the other separate building as they indicate. That's all we want. We want to know you can tear down part of it and not impact the other one and leave a wall that's exposed or anything else. That's all we're looking for.
That's all we need.
We'll be glad.
That's all we need. We just need that engineer to tell us that. We've been asking for that. If that hasn't been communicated in a way that was easily understood, let it be known now that that's all we want, and would love for him to demo what I think we all agree is clearly in need of demo.
So I just asked the city to issue based on that letter, the demolition permit, so we can get started.
I've not seen the letter. That's probably the letter we've been asking for a while.
So
And
bring the demolition permit and that letter.
And that's the letter you're referring to?
I'm Leroy Hoskins. First of all, it wasn't a request for a letter. It was a request for an engineer's report. This is the 3rd engineer that I've had out there. 2 of them said, we don't need to engineer a demo. I have a huge problem with people understanding that it didn't need to be engineered. So I got a third engineer out. There's a letter. I hope we're done.
All right. Will you, Leroy, can you provide or engineer provide on his letterhead, a letter to the city, the demolition of that building that we want to demolish will not damage.
It's in the letter that you
This is
got.
it right here.
This is it.
But
Okay.
here's the problem. This hasn't been submitted to our office.
Yes.
That's the whole holdup.
Well, this is.
I understand.
The first two times I got engineers out, I was not,
Let me,
just one second.
Yeah.
The idea of getting an engineer to write a letter saying that it would be okay was never expressed. They said engineer.
well,
So the engineers go out and go, how the hell do we engineer something that's got to be demoed? There's a huge communication problem. I agree. I don't agree with where it's at.
Okay, is it Mr. Diggins?
yes.
All right, so you guys have the last paragraph. So the last paragraph, let me read this because now I'm a bit confused. So final paragraph, based on the inspections and evaluations, it is the opinion of this office that with adequate shoring and bracing of the barracks west wall and gable roof line, the removal of the 1930 building will not compromise the structural integrity on the barracks. When the barracks west exterior wall is exposed, all framing will be inspected and replaced as needed to ensure the continued structural integrity of the west facing wall. Sorry, I'm a layman, but that doesn't sound to me like you can just tear it down and everybody walk away. So just, can you elaborate because it looks like you're requiring certain things after demo, which to me sounds like engineering, albeit minor, it's still engineering.
I don't quite, okay. So the two buildings share a wall right now. They're independently framed, all right? The ability to inspect that will be at the exposure, when the 1930s building is removed, all right?
Shouldn't be able to see.
It'll be visible at that point. If there is any structural compromise through 1862, Mr. Hoskins has already undertaken the floor in the 1862 building and brought it up. He's assured me that they will do the same thing on the west facing wall.
Okay, so again, so there's a chance when that building's removed, there'll be additional work and engineering needed, possibility.
Yes.
I don't know, do we have a permit on the other building he's talking about that he's brought up?
I show no open
That shows
permits right now.
85 or 90% complete that was referenced?
I show no open permits.
Okay, well, that's another issue.
Yeah, it's not this issue. It's another.
So herein lies our dilemma as to why we're here. It's not quite as simple as they would like to make it out to be. We just don't know. The bottom line is we simply ask for a permit on the other building in the event that when it's exposed, work has to be done. Because what we don't want to get into is saying, have at it, knock it down. You come in and say, oh, Leroy, there's got to be additional work done on that. Now, we don't have a permit, so we're not ready to proceed with that. So we've given a permit for something partial that's going to result in the need of something else. We'd rather do it all at once. That's what we typically do. We don't issue a permit for partial. So you may never need to act on that permit because it may be exposed and there may not be a thing you need to do. You may not even need to pull a nail out of that exposed wall. But I understand you can't say that you may not have to do something. And that's all that we've been saying all along, is that there's that potential when that wall is removed. Independent structures, we're not arguing necessarily. But that whole wall could be compromised and
That's exactly what the whole was.
exposed.
He was saying a temporary wall.
Right.
And
So
we-
that's, Mr.
We
Diggins,
can't
that's
give a
our
permit-
dilemma.
A permit
Well,
for a
let
temporary
me-
wall. so-
Let me answer that. Okay, what that temporary wall means is once there's a door in common, there's a wall here and a wall here with a door in between. It's two separate structures. That's why I got him, so these people could understand that. Anyway, We still don't seem to get that clear. All that was done in that, there's no permit required as far as I know to repaint and to take the floor up and inspect the braces under. So that's why we didn't have a permit. It's just been painted. If we've done something wrong, all you had to do was tell us.
We
No
didn't-
one
we
said
didn't-
one
We
word.
didn't know until this, just now you told us that.
Well, does it require a permit to paint the building?
Where are we now? Do we need to make a motion? Is this a moot point now that we have this letter in the engineer? What is our direction forward here?
I do believe it's a moot point. I believe.
Right. I mean, it's your, it's your decision to determine whether it's substandard or not. That's why we're here. We maintain that it definitely is.
And we agree.
And that it,
Everybody agrees.
I agree, and it be repaired or removed within a timeframe.
I've got one other comment to make.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hoskin owns both of these structures.
Correct.
So the demolition of one could only potentially damage his other building. So what's the issue?
Right.
Right.
I mean, seriously, he owns both. If he accidentally damages the other one, it's his fault.
Right, but
And why does
But-
he need a what if permit to fix?
Exactly.
because, all right,
Thank you. Thank you.
and I'll let the
If
building,
something happens,
okay,
he's gonna have to pull a permit to fix it.
but
Why do we?
But we've now, but now then we'll be, so the what if, which the engineer indicates is a possibility.
Right.
If that wall is compromised, now we've issued a permit for the demo, but we don't have a permit now for for the wall repair. So now we've created an unsafe, now we've created another unsafe structure.
How do you pull a permit on a structure that you don't know about? You don't know what it is.
You get a remodel permit that includes the demo.
That includes.
It's
the
not a
engine-
big deal.
That includes an engineer's letter that says, I take responsibility and I'll make sure that the corrections that may need to be made will be made.
Because if there's a door between there, then the other the other reality is that exterior door now becomes a windstorm rated door. By current windstorm codes, because it's not an exposed door now, but now it will become an exterior door. So it's not, I know they want to try to make it as simple as we just want to tear it down. There's we have to deal with the what ifs. You know, what if that wall is exposed? What if there's a gaping hole in it?
Okay, so what do you need us to do?
Well, we make a motion, we vote, and then the city deals with all of us.
Right.
So
Right?
if you find that portion of the building is substandard
Yeah.
and needs to come down, you can order it down. Everybody's agreeing that that's.
We all
I'm
agree to
making a
that.
motion
And we go home and they fight.
that we
Right.
declare the structure at, help me out. people.
200 East Potter Avenue.
200 East Cotter, unsafe and substandard, and order it repaired or removed within 30 days.
I second.
What are you waiting for?
That's fine.
All right.
We agree with all of that.
But wait a
Any
minute, we
further
gotta-
discussion?
From the date of the permit, please.
Yeah, we have to get the permit still. They're still fighting with us on getting the
Okay,
demolition
30.
permit.
60 days.
60 days.
60 days.
60 days. Even the city works better than that. Okay, all right, within 60 days. We have a motion.
Second.
I think Barney still has
Yeah, I
a
think,
question.
didn't you just solve it with your remodel permit?
Well, that's
that's-
that's what
That's what we're trying to do.
we just want to, that's all we're asking for, but that's on us. You guys just need to determine, agree with us that it's substandard and order it removed. How that happens, we'll still hash out.
Okay.
All right,
I don't think we're that far apart.
okay. All right, we have a motion, and we think we had a second in 60 days. All those in favor, say aye.
Uh,
All right, okay.
Thank you.
All
Thank you,
right.
guys.
Excuse me,
Good
gentlemen,
luck,
I'd
man.
like to speak to y'all just a minute before we all get done here, but I mean, this has nothing to do with this. I want to talk to y'all as the building official, okay?
All right,
You want this, right?
Yes, please.
we have another item.
Glenn, we're gonna pass on the minutes. I didn't realize that they're not, so we have this new software program that we're still working the kinks out of. The minutes didn't attach and I didn't realize it until half of you already picked up your packets. So we'll do that at the next meeting.
Okay,
Next time.
Next time.
Yeah,
Make a
we're-
motion to adjourn.
I'll call this meeting adjourned.
Thank you all.
25.
You sure?
I know it's.
Thank you.
How you doing, bud?
Pretty good. Doing all right?
Let's go. I'm gonna have a little.
You always have to put that in the back of this.
Okay.
So,
So you'll get that.
yeah.
So you're gonna be the motion lady from now on.
If you guys just want to leave your packets on the.
Thank you.
We must have a motion.
Hell, the council may not want you over there.
That's right. I'm up for being
Oh, you
thrown
up?
off, voted off the island. Yeah.
Ma'am.
You did a good job.